I'm Liz.
And I'm Jess.
And this is That's Dark.
Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to That Is Dark. I don't know why I said That Is Dark.
It is dark.
But I'm just so excited because, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who has reached out about the Missing 6 Part 2.
Yes.
That's insane amount
has
of
received a lot of
love on TikTok and like a lot of, I want to say, older people commenting on it and actually seeing it. So thank you if you're one of those. And like someone even added Bailey Sarayan to say she should cover this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, love that.
Besides all the amazing love that we received on it, on that specific case, a lot of people who are commenting on it are like, I remember when this happened, and families are still questioning, and it's actually crazy because you tell a story and you know obviously it's real and it's tragic, but when people are actually being like, I was there, it's excuse me,
I'm still angry about this. Like, I'm still mad. It's still alive and well, and it is still something that's beating in the hearts of so many South Africans. And like we said, like, we could do something about it. We can.
Those families deserve answers. That case made me so angry just hearing about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, but it was rough.
If you have any stories, like I know there was this person who said they had just moved in Pretoria when this case came to light, send us an email.
It through.
Tell us the story. Tell us, just
tell us, where were you when
love to know about it.
The newspapers reported it, or where were you when you saw Huisgenoot put like huge article out on it? We just want to know. And
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what most of it is about.
And that's why we do this, to bring attention to these cases.
Exactly. And to give the names to the victims and, to possibly make something bigger happen than ourselves. But I did mention in that case that we might do an episode on some of the terms that are used in crime and in courts that we didn't know, because before that court, I didn't know what perjury was really, or I didn't understand.
There's a lot of interesting stuff.
And there's a lot.
I feel like we don't learn much about it unless you're going
to or your law or criminal law. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. So
to learn.
Yes, I did some research and we're going to go through some of the major crimes, some of the lesser crimes, and tell you what they are in detail and possibly give you like a famous crime that has to do with it. Some of them might be international because South Africa, although big in its own right, some of these crimes are not as notable, I would say, for some of these crimes. But there will be just call it a fun fact, is very not cool, but there will be a fact following each of those. So hold on to your butts. But before we start, Jess, how are you doing?
I'm good because I just submitted 5 assignments last night.
That is insane.
I'm just glad it's over. So I feel relieved right now.
You just had like a burden of your shoulders,
being like, this is what it...
You should like be driving through the streets with your windows rolled down and being like, I submitted 5 assignments.
They were next level. And I've got 2 other things, but the other thing I have is on Monday where I'm giving my proposal defense, which I'm a bit nervous about.
That is intense.
So I have to present that to a panel. And then the Monday after that, I am writing an exam. But then I'm going to be free. So.
Okay, only then are you going to be free after that?
I've got like another week.
For good?
No, not for good. I've got like semester 1 is over. Then I've got semester 2.
You know what? I respect you. Because you choosing to study full-time while also working full-time, that is insane. But also, on a completely different note, Jess brought us some very, very nice drinks. They're called Frugo.
Right? This isn't an ad, but if you
This is not an ad.
Want something that tastes like grape tizer,
but you don't want to pay for grape tizer, You want to pay like half the price?
Literally, it's 11 rand something at Spa. And it is so good.
It is freaking amazing. Like lightly sparkling. See, it's not even that aggressive. It's the whole design, everything is such super
I really
chill.
love it. I also have the apple one. We have the grape one. And I
we currently have the grape one, and it is so good. So, Frugo, you're doing a good job.
Yes.
Not sponsored, by the way, but willing to be.
But Liz, how are you doing? I didn't answer that, and I realized.
You know what? Sometimes we go through rough patches, but then that's why we have our friends and family. And I think
that is true.
That is the most important thing. You know, work has been great. I love what I do. And through it all, I have my cat. I have my purebred absolute idiot of a cat.
He knows he's purebred and he acts
He knows he's a purebred and he's just like, girl, you better deliver.
Yeah.
But
my cats are just from the SPCA, so they're like, yeah.
Mine was an unintentional adoption, and I still love Jackson to this day.
He's so cute, though.
He's a sphinx. So if anyone wants to know, he looks like a raw chicken. That's the best way.
Oh my gosh. You said that as I took a sip of my lovely Frugo. I was like, oh my gosh.
Almost made you do a spit take.
Yeah.
No, so he's a little raw chicken, and but currently the raw chicken has a black sweater on. So
sweet.
He's dressed because it's absolutely so cold.
Tomorrow is going to be freezing.
That's ridiculous.
Like
when you told me.
But
it's a Sunday, but still, like the maximum is 16 today.
When did Cape Town weather come to Joburg? I literally says it might rain, so.
Really? Well, it's so cold.
Yeah.
So everyone's just in bed whenever you can.
Anyway,
but yeah, we are so far off topic. But yeah, no, so we are doing good. But yes, let's get back to serious business. Crime. And how it works in South Africa. So anyone that lives in South Africa is so familiar with crime. I mean, you learn about it in kindergarten, I would say.
I remember as a child, my mom always used to drill into us that if we ever got like hijacked or someone ever got into the car or onto the car, then she would crash into the tree so that we could get us. So she would always tell us, be prepared. Or if someone wanted the car, then we would get out the car over her lap and get out the car and not get out on either side because they were kidnapped or something. I remember that being drilled in.
But that is so strange as you say the whole thing about crashing into a tree, because I was just scrolling Instagram this morning, Instagram Reels, and then this was a lady. Unfortunately, I did not get her handle or anything because I did not think this was going to be relevant. But she was in prison. She's an American woman, but she was in prison, and she said whenever they tell you to drive to a second location, if you find yourself in that place, never drive to the second location.
Because no matter, I'd rather get shot.
Yeah.
I think it'll be better than whatever's going to happen in the
She says
location.
The chances of you surviving, you crashing your car into a tree, are so much greater than you surviving what's going to happen at the second location.
Yeah.
So that being said, never drive to a second location if you do find yourself in that situation, which we hope you absolutely don't. But just never drive to a second location. So, but I would say rather incapacitate.
Just do what you can to get out of
the person that
carry pepper spray. I always carry pepper spray. Even when I get Mr. Delivery orders and they arrive at my gate, I keep pepper spray in my pants and I get the food, and you can never be too careful.
I always have my keys, my house keys in my hand.
I do that when I walk in the parking lot and stuff, and you put it in.
Whenever I like exit the shops, I always have like all of my car keys. Well, I have one car key, but then like my house keys or something, I have like plethora of keys, and I would hold them like I'm Wolverine. And you make sure you hold on to them like you're Wolverine, because you never know.
The joys of being a woman in South Africa.
of being a woman. Oh my God.
Anyway, so those are just some tips on how to stay safe.
Some tips. We haven't even started. So let's start with more legal terms.
Once the crime has already happened, what happens from there?
So once the crime has already happened. So let's first talk about how the South African system works. So South African criminal law has two sources. Common law crimes are the old judge-made offences inherited largely from Roman Dutch law and developed by the courts over centuries. So that could include your murder, theft, robbery, fraud, assault, and so on. They are not written down in a single statute. So their definitions live in case law. So statutory crimes are created by Parliament in a specific act, and that could include drug offences, corruption, cybercrime, or human trafficking. Some modern statutes have actually replaced old common law crimes. The 2007 Sexual Offences Act, for instance, abolished the common law crime of rape and rebuilt it as a broader statutory offense. What I noticed from reading all of this research is that South Africa is actually taking their crime more serious.
That's good.
It's just the people that are in place to enforce it that might not inherently follow the rules exactly. But that's not what we're here about. So courts that hear criminal matters is not all that common. So most cases start in the magistrates' court. District magistrates' courts handle less serious matters. Regional magistrates' courts handle serious crimes, including murder and rape, and can impose long sentences, including life imprisonment. The High Court hears the most serious or complex trials and also acts as an appeal court, with the Supreme Court of Appeal and the Constitutional Court above it. And there are no jury trials in South Africa. They were abolished in 1969. So a judge, sometimes with some lay assessors nearby, decides both guilt and the sentence.
I don't know if I like that. Personally, I feel like I don't think one person should have that much power to decide someone's fate.
That is true.
I mean, I know that they are highly educated and everything, but I don't know. It's just...
You can be biased, but it's... I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
I feel also like a court, they are there to, or a jury rather, is there to be swayed by the defendant and those kinds of things. For me, that is like you're playing to favorites, you're playing on people's emotions, and that's how you decide.
If the person killed someone you really loved and then you killed them, then the jury could be like, but I understand this.
That is true. But then wouldn't a judge also be like, I understand this though?
Wouldn't the judge just be like, that's the law, you killed someone?
That's the thing. That's the thing. You
But at
get
the same time, I don't think you should kill someone.
partial judges and you get impartial judges. It's the strangest thing. But anyway,
You get
so
partial and impartial people all the time, no matter if it's one person or a group of people. So
exactly. So it is just what it is. But something interesting is that South Africa has no capital punishment. So it means we have no death penalty. In its very first judgment, S.V. Makwanyane, in 1995, the newly created Constitutional Court unanimously struck down the death penalty as inconsistent with the rights to life and dignity. The last execution had been carried out in 1989, and roughly 400 people were on death row when the moratorium and the abolition came. The most severe sentence available today is life imprisonment.
that's actually really recent.
That is extremely
carried
recent.
out in 1989.
Yeah, my eldest brother would have been 1 year old.
That's crazy.
So it's strange to think about that was that early. But
what are your thoughts on the death penalty?
so it depends on the type of case. But today I feel more strongly towards teaching a lesson instead of killing someone for what they did. So this is just a personal opinion of mine, and also blanket trigger warning for this. We are talking about crimes, and we are going to go into detail on some of these crimes. We are discussing serious matters, the harm done to people and the punishments and what we think they should be. But for me, I would say like all crime is horrible. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah.
But I think crimes involving children, specifically pedophilia and the sexual abuse or something from that, for those cases, I don't think sentencing them to death is correct, but I would like to see some chemical castration. And your name goes on a public
that people can see. Yes,
we need to have a public.
But that should be done with any kind of sexual
Exactly.
offender. If you have
Yes,
an offense in that manner,
you go on the registry.
people need to know if there's someone like that in their area. You know.
So I would say chemical castration or something where it's like, listen, you will not be able to do this again.
I also have heard an opinion that if a person has killed a family member, then the family of that victim can decide if they want the death penalty or not.
I would say that is reasonable.
It makes sense because sometimes, the people just want to live their life and, they think that
they don't want this person
but sometimes they're like, no, this person deserves to die for what they did to my child or whatever.
That's the thing. And you don't want to get, to let them get out on parole.
Yeah.
Or because they were, they had good behavior.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, the family should decide what happened. No. I'm just saying, if it's life imprisonment or death, and then maybe they could have a say being like, oh, we want to pursue the death penalty or something. Maybe
yes, we want him to,
But at the same time, with the death penalty, that person has to 100% be proven to be guilty.
Yes.
There can be no doubt at all about that person's innocent, because you know how many times people have been sentenced to death and they
were innocent.
And that breaks my heart. So that is the reason I'm very much on the fence about the death penalty, because of the potential that the person might be innocent.
No, absolutely. And also taking a life for a life, I feel like it's not solving the situation.
If a person's a serial killer like Ted Bundy. No, but I think they should have Ted Bundy as well. So
yeah, that's the thing. We want criminals' brains and we want to study them.
That sounds very dark. We want their brain and we want to study them. Okay, guys.
We want to scientifically study the brains of horrific people.
Yeah, we want to understand why they are the way that they are.
Exactly.
And prevent it because we know what caused it or what
exactly. But then if most of it was from trauma to the head, then...
But then what did that trauma do?
That's the thing, because then babies will be walking around with helmets.
They shouldn't.
No, babies are fine. They are quite robust, but also one of the cute things. I'm going off topic again, but I think this needs to be said. You get very cute, I want to say little plushy backpacks for your baby.
Oh my gosh, I've seen
when
that.
They start
and then it's got their head thing.
Yeah, and it has a little donut at the back. So when they fall on their back, they don't hit their head.
That is very smart.
So I think that is brilliant.
Less head injuries for the win.
There we go. So let's get back to it. So minimum sentences for serious crimes. The cornerstone of modern sentencing is the Criminal Law Amendment Act 105 of 1997, which is very recent, which prescribes minimum sentences for a schedule or serious offense. In broad strokes, the most serious crimes like premeditated murder, certain rapes, murder of a police officer or witness, trafficking for sexual purposes, and things like that, carry a minimum of life imprisonment. A second tier carries 15 years for a first-time offender, 20 years for a second-time offender, and 25 years for a third-year offender or third-time offender. So lesser scheduled offenses carry 10 to 15 to 20 years, or 5 to 7 to 10-year bans. Courts may impose less if they find substantial and compelling circumstances. And something that I really like, the Act specifically bars certain excuses in rape cases, such as the victim's prior sexual history or a history of the previous relationship with the accused.
Talking about that, I have a very disturbing fact.
Oh, great.
About rape in South Africa. So until 1993, rape in marriage wasn't a thing. It wasn't, you couldn't.
Oh, no.
The person couldn't, it wasn't illegal, I want to say.
It wasn't seen as a crime.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Because you were married.
Yeah.
You were the wife.
Yeah.
And your husband demanded it, you had to give it to him.
Literally 1993.
93. That is horrific.
It really, really is.
Thank goodness for the Act 105 of 1997. Because now if there is a rape victim, then their history, no matter what they did previously, their sexual history, their previous sexual partners, or their previous relationship with the accused cannot stand as evidence.
Yeah.
It's that doesn't matter here. What matters is what you did to the victim now. Oh gosh, 1993. That is
very disturbing.
It's giving me the heebie-jeebies, and I do not like that. Life imprisonment in South Africa genuinely means an indeterminate sentence.
So it's not life imprisonment is 25 years.
No.
Good.
Let me continue.
Good.
So under the current regime, an offender serving life must serve at least 25 years before even being considered for parole. Or they have to reach the age of 65, having served at least 15 years.
So that was 25 years.
But
That's not life, people.
But it's still a long time if you consider it. They have to serve 25.
Or if you did something like, I'm not really into it. If you've done bad things, like the extreme crimes, you deserve to be in there for your whole life, not 25 years. If you've destroyed someone's whole life, you shouldn't have to only spend 25 years in prison.
That is true. But let me tell you something.
And 65 is young. I'm sorry, 65.
It is young. It is young. But let me tell you something that might either make you more angry or less angry. I don't know. So those sentenced under older rules, so broadly before October 2004, may be considered earlier. For fixed-term sentences, serious offenders generally become parole eligible after serving half
of the sentence.
Mm-hmm. Crucially, parole is a consideration, not a right. That has to be said. It's a consideration, not a right. A parole board still has to be satisfied the person can be released.
Yeah, but this has made me more angry for the reason that a lot of sexual offenders and like pedophiles, they can't be rehabilitated, which is most of the time they can't be, right? And that's the aim of prison. But of course they're not going to offend in prison. There aren't any chances.
There aren't any opportunities.
There's no opportunities to do that in prison. So yes, they've been in quote unquote good behavior, but they haven't had the opportunity. You know how many cases there have been where they've been good in prison, they've been let out, and then they do the same thing outside.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they've been let go under good behavior. Yeah. It's like, of course they've been let out under good behavior.
There's no opportunities for them to be...
They're being watched like a hawk 24/7. Unless you're Tabu Bester, but let's not get back into that. So I'm going to talk about crimes against people a little bit more in detail and just give you a little bit more information about that. So let's talk about murder.
Murder.
Do this.
No.
For anyone who is not familiar, we are referencing Vine. For a lot of the younger folk, you don't know what Vine is. Search it. It is hilarious. It is what TikTok... It is what...
strives to be.
Yeah, it is what TikTok strives to be. Vine was supposed to be TikTok. But it is it's one of my favorite Vines, where the man is like, I brought you frankincense. He's like, thank you. And I brought you murder.
Judas,
no. That is just, we are bringing lightheartedness into this because we do carry horrible things.
As much as we're talking about crimes, we're not talking about actual victims here.
Yes, so today there's no actual victims and we can just be a little bit more lighthearted with this. And
I feel like I need that.
It's more for educational purposes, and yes, we do need it.
Especially after the last case, that was heavy.
It was horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Right, so murder. It is the unlawful and intentional killing of another human being. Intention is interpreted broadly. It covers not only the desire to kill, but also foreseeing that your conduct could cause death and reconciling yourself to that risk. That is known as dolus eventualis in Latin.
See.
Right, doing fancy words. So a minimum of a life imprisonment applies where the murder is planned or premeditated, committed during a rape or aggravated robbery, or where the victim is a police officer or a witness.
Would that be like a first-degree murder? I don't know how it works. Yeah, we hear American terms, but I don't know. So, is that also a South African term, first-degree murder?
It's not a South African
Not really, okay.
So we call it something else in South Africa, and we will get to that.
Okay.
So other murders carry, like we said, a 15 to 20 to 25-year minimum, depending on prior convictions, with judges often imposing more. Good. But life means at least 25 years before parole may be considered.
But they do have sentences where it's like never going to be paroled. Like they'll never have opportunity.
Absolutely not. If someone has to serve multiple life sentences, I think, then they still have to serve like 25 years for the opportunity to be considered for parole. But then people know like that is not going to happen.
But
No
it would
way.
be like life in prison without the possibility of parole.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. So one notable South African case about this is Oscar Pistorius.
I actually really want to cover that case.
We will cover that case. Okay, so you want to cover that, so I'm going to
Yes.
give that to you.
Thank you.
I was considering rock, paper, scissors, but you said it first, so it's yours. So Oscar Pistorius was convicted of murdering his girlfriend, model, and law graduate, Reva Steenkamp, whom he shot through a locked toilet door on Valentine's Day in 2013.
I remember this case. I remember
watching
it on STV. Like the courts.
I remember I was carpooling with a friend to university, and we drove to uni and we listened to this on the radio. We were both so shocked.
It is such a shocking case.
It's so
Especially
shocking.
because they both had so much going for them.
Exactly.
I'm like, where did it go wrong?
It's just you don't even realize, you don't even consider either of them being in possession of a gun. Like not even using it. It's very strange.
But we will talk about that case.
We will talk about it.
Might be my next case. We'll see.
So originally convicted of culpable homicide, he was found guilty of murder on appeal and was released on parole in January 2024.
I don't know who was walking around.
The guy's walking around.
So we can't say anything bad.
No, we didn't. So I think we're
but I
still
was
good.
going to, but
So, interesting fact. Thanks to dolus eventualis. Do you remember what that means, Jess? Are you scrolling up?
It's a long definition. That's
It's a very long. No. So, thanks to dolus eventualis, which means that your conduct could cause death and reconciling yourself to that risk. A person can be convicted of murder without intending that particular death. Firing blindly through a door or into a crowd can qualify if the killer foresaw the possibility and carried on regardless. So that is if you're just going in blind, but you know that you might kill someone and it is a possibility.
yeah.
So
That's
is
still like cause and effect, you know.
exactly. So that is still murder. So now we get to culpable homicide. That is the unlawful but negligent killing of another person, the rough equivalent of manslaughter elsewhere. So we have culpable homicide. The death was not intended, but the accused failed to exercise the care a reasonable person would have.
So kind of like hitting someone, but not being able to prove that you tried to brake before hitting someone, like driving.
That's the thing. It's like you were just like going about your day and like you killed someone, but you were like, okay, well, that happened.
Imagine
Imagine
going about your day and so you killed someone.
Sorry. It was put very, very like essays deadly. But most fatal road crashes and many fatal assaults are prosecuted as culpable homicide.
You know what I don't agree with? This might be controversial. But on a highway, right? If someone is running or walking on a highway and they get hit by a car, that person driving the car should not be held liable for anything because that person was illegally on the highway. People are driving
with you on
120 on the highway. If someone's on the road, you're not going to see them, especially if it's dark.
There's no
or
zebra
something.
crossing on a
If
highway.
you are not, it is illegal for you to be on the highway.
Yes.
It's unfair that the person who hit that person gets in trouble and potentially goes to jail for something they weren't doing anything wrong.
No, that is true.
It makes me irritated because my in-laws know someone who had to go through the whole court proceedings and everything after hitting someone. And I'm like, that is so unfair. That person's been through so much trauma already and it wasn't their fault.
But first of all, the trauma of killing someone, you're like, yes, this was not supposed to happen. That person was not supposed to be there in the first place. But now you're being found guilty. It was not your intent. Your intent was driving
you
to get to a
weren't doing
destination.
anything wrong at all.
Exactly. You were driving.
Yeah. Unless you're allowed to drive. Unless you're speeding, obviously, that's different.
That's the thing.
That's
or if you saw, listen, there's someone walking on the side of the highway and you were like, I'm going to speed up. That is also not a good thing because, but see, that cannot be.
But if you see but even I'm always so nervous of this. If I see someone, especially on a bicycle, you never know what people on bicycles are going to do. You slow right down, or wide berth around them because you don't know if they're going to fall. You don't know anything. So if you see anyone just on the side of the road, be careful because
That's usually something whenever I have to turn and there's a bicycle, I know they're going to turn as well. So then I either give them the right of way first, even though it slows down traffic, or I just flash my lights so that they can know, like, listen, there is a car directly behind you. I am acknowledging you, so please do what you need to do in a timely fashion. But let's continue. So yes, that is culpable homicide. It means a negligent killing. So you weren't necessarily going to kill them, but you were like,
or it was an accident, like, or it was someone on the highway and you apparently got found guilty.
There is no prescribed minimum sentence. The court has a wide discretion from a suspended sentence or a fine through to imprisonment of several years, depending on the degree of negligence and the consequences. Sentences of a few years are common, and gross negligence can attract more.
It's like that poor lady who got thrown off the cliff in Brazil, bungee jumping.
Yes. So as of
that
today, this
is
very, very recent. Like, that video came out on Monday. This is Saturday now.
That case is heartbreaking, but it's the most open and shut case of murder I've ever seen in my life, because there are three people
knowingly threw her off a cliff without a bungee cord.
Like, how could you not see there was nothing attached to that woman?
That's the thing. But you also know what really unsettles me about that video? No one's screaming.
I know.
It's very strange. It feels almost ritualistic that there's so many people videoing it.
It's very weird.
And they just threw her off a cliff. And then apparently also she was still alive at the bottom.
Yes, I know. Apparently there was a healthcare worker who went to go and
then she died.
Oh,
so that's
so sad, but
yeah, so let's say that is culpable homicide, because
murder, actually.
That is that was very negligent because they didn't check for.
I feel like negligence would more be like if it is someone ziplining and the harness hasn't been like assessed or hasn't been, made sure that it's all good.
You as a safety instructor being lazy, and not checking everything first.
Yeah, and then maybe it's frayed or whatever, and then it breaks. Yeah, that is very negligent. But if you throw someone off a cliff,
so see, in that case where you didn't do your job properly or properly. Then that would be like, let's say, murder of the third degree, because it's not that bad. But them knowing
murder is bad, Liz.
I know. I'm so sorry if I sound strange or just insensitive. Then throwing someone off of a cliff knowingly, they don't have that. That is like first degree manslaughter.
I'm just saying is that 3 people were carrying her, then the one stayed behind and the other 2 just threw her. But the person who was behind them, I could see in the video, because the person was filming behind this person who stayed behind, you could see there was nothing attached to her.
Nothing. And then he also...
How did he not be like, oh my gosh, wait, there's nothing attached to
the cameraman, let's call him the cameraman. He stood there watching it all happen, and then at the end he pans down to the ground to show you the cables. Which is just, what is this?
How did you not see that?
How did none of you raise an alarm? Also, the other people filming, whether it be family, whether it be strangers,
like, why did probably run to the edge of the cliff and be like, oh my gosh, like,
what are you guys
not
doing?
Just stand there and do nothing.
And that's the thing. It's weird. It is very weird.
We'll talk about this more when the case is
proven. So let's talk about a notable South African case. Entertainer Molemo Jupju Maruhanye. Please tell me I'm saying that correctly.
It sounds good.
And a co-accused were initially convicted of murder after a 2010 drag racing crash in Soweto killed 4 schoolboys. On appeal, the convictions were reduced to culpable homicide and the sentences cut to 8 years on the basis that the deaths were not intended.
I know they weren't intended, but you were doing something illegal.
Years.
I know, but you were also doing something illegal. That is.
It's an illegal drag race.
I feel like that is the catalyst. Because like if you're on the highway and hit someone, you're not doing anything illegal. The other person is. If you're drag racing on a street where there are school children or anyone, that is illegal.
That's the thing. You know that something might go wrong.
Yeah.
And you still did it regardless.
I don't know.
So
8 years for 4 lives is infuriating.
For schoolboys, no, it's rude. So the line between murder and culpable homicide is purely about the accused state of mind. So that's the interesting fact here. Identical physical acts can land on either side, which is why so many high-profile trials turn on what the accused foresaw rather than what they did. Because that's a very thin line from straight up murder to culpable homicide. It's a very thin line. And that is why they often go to what did the accused see or think or do in the moments before the crime actually happened.
I didn't realize this was 20 pages long. I thought it was shorter.
Girl, hold on to your boots.
I've been talking because I thought this was going to be a short case. I'm going to shut up now. I'm literally been like, okay, it's going to be short. I just need to like talk and make up for it.
So a lot of it is like just, it goes through the thing. So some of the things we don't need to go through, we'll decide that. But let's just get through it. Let's just power through this horrible document. Attempted murder, I think, is pretty self-explanatory, but it is intentionally trying to kill someone.
Should there be an attempted murder case? Because at the end of the day, your intent was to kill that person. So you should just be charged for murder. But you were aiming to kill that person.
You intentionally try to kill someone, but the victim survives.
Yeah.
The intention to kill must be present, and the only thing missing is the death itself.
No, but you shouldn't get charged just because the person was a badass and they survived. You should still get sentenced as if they had died because you still did that to them.
To me, attempted murder should be culpable homicide, but also homicide means someone was dying, so it should be
murder.
Attempted homicide.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Personally, I think they should just be charged for murder, plain and simple.
Because that was what they wanted.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
Just because the person was strong enough to survive,
yes,
doesn't mean the person who did it should receive any benefits from that.
Yes. So no fixed statutory minimum. So the court exercises discretion. But sentences are severe and often run to many years imprisonment, particularly where a firearm was used or the injuries were grave. So a notable South African case is the attempted murder charges featured heavily in the prosecutions of taxi violence and gang cases across the Cape Flats and KwaZulu-Natal, where shootings frequently leave survivors alongside fatalities. An interesting fact about this, an accused can be convicted of attempted murder even if the victim suffers no injury at all.
Okay, well, that's good.
What matters is the intention and a step taken towards carrying it out, such as pulling the trigger on a weapon that misfires. Even if no one was hurt, you still attempted
to kill. You're going to shoot someone in the head and then you pull the trigger and nothing happens. That's still attempted murder.
Exactly, which is good. Then we get to common assault, which unfortunately I think a lot of people actually know a lot more about that they are willing to speak about. It is unlawfully and intentionally applying force to another person or inspiring a genuine fear of immediate violence. Even a threatening gesture can qualify. No serious injury is required.
Okay,
so you kind of going up to a person and like doing the big voice like thing with your body. Listeners, I just leaped forward with my torso. That just to put that out there. But or like you doing like I'm gonna kill you with the finger through the throat. Or
what about like threatening letters or stuff? Does that, or does it have to be like a threat of physical? I don't know if that makes sense.
That is
because a lot of
no. So I think that covers common assault because it says or inspiring a genuine fear of immediate violence.
Because a lot of the times there's been issues in cases where someone is getting threatened, like phone calls, letters, but then they go to the police and they're like, "Oh, they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. So we can't help you."
That's so infuriating.
So that covers that.
Assault. That is assault. But yeah, there's also that weird international case about people living in a house and then they get very threatening messages, and the people in the house like get stuff that they do on a daily basis, like sent to them, and it happens with every family that stayed there.
Oh, that thing. I know that series on Netflix. Oh, the series terrified me, but also good.
Yeah, so
I can't deal with people watching people or like
stalking is a whole other level.
Stalking terrifies me.
Yeah, like it's horrible, but that's also very
my house and my space. You do not come into my space,
and that is why we have curtains. So for common assault, a relatively minor offense with no minimum sentence is the outcome. Outcomes range from a caution or fine to short imprisonment, frequently suspended for first offenders. So if you're a first offender threatening someone, it'll be like you get a fine or you get a slap on the wrist, and that is that. But if you're someone who does this on the regular, you are getting served prison time, but it's not that long.
I mean, it's great because maybe it will like because the problem is we need actually police officers that take reports of
things seriously
in order for this to actually go to court. But it could really help.
But I think short imprisonment,
escalation and stuff like that. But
it's not stopping it. That's the horrible part.
Because of the police, though.
Yes. Yes. Let's just say that. There's no real consequences for things like this. But a common assault is the most frequently charged violent offense in South Africa and appears in countless domestic and bar fight matters that never make headlines. So that is something that happens like literally probably every second of every day in South Africa.
I feel we don't hear a lot of cases, assaults or anything.
So it's not worth mentioning because it's one
not
of
reported on.
Yeah, it's one of thousands every day,
which is so sad.
That is the horrible fact. That is the horrible fact. So an interesting fact is you can commit assault without ever touching the other person. Raising a fist or pointing a weapon in a way that makes someone fear imminent harm is enough.
Okay, so not really phone calls or whatever, more like...
No, but if you're constantly getting phone calls and someone's threatening you, it is assault because you are like, what are they going to do? Something is going to happen to me.
Yeah, I guess.
So that, I would say that qualifies. Then we have assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, or GBH. It is a serious assault where the accused intended to inflict really serious injury, regardless of whether such injury actually resulted. The use of a weapon, the part of the body targeted, and the severity of the attack all points towards this charge rather than common assault. It is more serious than common assault and punished accordingly, often with direct imprisonment of several years, though there is no prescribed statutory minimum. So GBH charges are the staple of South Africa's gender-based violence caseload and frequently accompany domestic violence prosecutions. That is the sad thing. Is that
there's so much gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence is out of control. Violence against women and children, and we do acknowledge men as well. It is out of control.
There is this movement in South Africa. I don't know what it's called now, but I think we should tag it in our notes so that people can go there and look at it, whatever. Just for anyone who struggling or
like a help.
No, any stories that you maybe, if something happened to someone you know and they didn't get justice, you can also tell them and they will take it out there and
absolutely
tell their story and stuff.
Which is really sad because these cases are often the ones that don't go to the police out of fear of what is going to happen next, or out of fear of ridicule, being made fun of, or just because
that person,
just general fear, which
especially if you have children, I think it must be so hard.
That's why most people choose to stay because they know like
and
they're going to suffer.
It got so bad. I was actually pleasantly surprised for 1 year. It was around Christmas time, so obviously a lot of people staying home for holidays and stuff. I went to a shopping center and there was actually a police woman there at like a stand, and she was handing out pamphlets and stuff and talking to women, talking about gender-based violence and what they can do to help and all that kind of stuff. And that's the first time I'd ever seen that, like community involvement,
activism,
towards. And I was like, this is really encouraging because I think there is a lot of cases in December holidays and stuff where people are home. So it was really encouraging to see them helping,
actually doing that,
actually doing something.
I would think a lot of cases involving caseworkers or sometimes those caring for people who aren't capable of caring for themselves, and they have a family member living there as well, and they might see this person taking care of their loved one as a possible victim because they are like a living assistant or a living helper, so they might go for them. So it happens everywhere, and I think please be cautious of it. And if you know someone this happens to, don't be afraid to speak out, but also ask them first. It sounds strange, but maybe they are in a situation where it could get worse if this gets out. So handle it with extreme caution and rather ask someone professional. Don't take it from us. Ask a professional how to handle that, please. We will reference and add some links to some helplines and websites where you can get more information on this.
Definitely.
An interesting fact, it kind of feels bad to say an interesting fact now, but the label refers to the intention not the outcome. A vicious attack that miraculously causes only minor injury can still be charged as assault GBH.
I think that should be the same thing with murder.
Exactly.
Or attempted murder.
So
you apply the same rules.
But that's only if the intent to cause serious harm is proven.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying the intent to murder someone is there, that's proven. So
the intent to harm someone and to do grievous bodily harm is there.
So just treat it as what it is.
That is it. And we get to one that is very fresh in our minds, is kidnapping, which is unlawfully and intentionally depriving someone of their freedom of movement, or in the case of a child, depriving the parents of control over a child. It covers everything from forcibly holding a hostage to luring a child away. There is no fixed minimum on its own, and the discretionary sentence can be substantial. In practice, kidnapping is often charged alongside more serious crimes such as rape, robbery, or murder, which drive the overall sentence, which I think is fantastic because it is a serious, serious crime. Notably, there was kidnapping for ransom syndicates targeting business owners, which have become a significant focus for the police's specialized units, particularly in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. It's still ongoing. These things do happen, so be cautious of that. And then kidnapping protects freedom of movement so strictly that even briefly bundling someone into a car against their will with no ransom or further plan completes the crime. If someone has held you against your will, whether it be a partner, whether it be a friend, even as a joke, but you did not find it as a joke, you were kidnapped.
You can't hold someone against their will.
That's the thing. You were held against your will. That is kidnapping. Know your terms. Be safe.
I thought that was abduction, actually. I feel like kidnapping makes it sound like it's just for a child, and abduction makes it sound like it's for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually the opposite way around.
No, so abduction, which we get to next, is unlawfully taking an unmarried minor away from the control of their parent or guardian without consent for the purpose of marriage or sexual intercourse.
I didn't realize it was like such distinctions.
Yeah, that it was like such a straight line through.
Yeah.
It is narrower than kidnapping and centers on interfering with parental authority over a young person. A discretionary sentence where sexual exploitation of a child is involved, far more serious charges under the Sexual Offences Act usually dominate the sentencing. So it is seen as a very, very serious offense because it is. So a notable one is the abduction that has surfaced in prosecutions linked to the custom of ukutwala in parts of the Eastern Cape, where the practice has sometimes been distorted into the forced marriage, and I say that in air quotes, of girls. It's something I'm not going to comment about because it is a cultural thing, and we do not have all of the knowledge.
Yeah, I'm just gonna...
We need to educate ourselves more on this thing first. But an interesting fact is that abduction is one of the few crimes where the consent of the young person themselves is legally irrelevant. The protected interest is the parent or guardian's authority, not the minor's wishes. So even if, let's say, a 14-year-old girl says, I love him, Mum, I'm going to go with him, and that man is 20 years old, it is abduction.
Good. And I hope it's statutory rape too.
Actually, yes. And now we get to the offences that we don't like.
So we like murder, Liz.
Okay, yes. Let me rephrase that. So now we get to these
really, really difficult
ones. Really difficult, icky crimes that we can't really stomach. I also can't stomach murder. So there's no right way to put this.
Let's just say that if I didn't have to be here, I wouldn't be here for this pod.
These are the sexual offences. They are codified in the criminal law, Sexual Offences and Related Matters, Amendment Act 32 of 2007, usually shortened to the Sexual Offences Act, or SORMA. It abolished the old common law crimes and rebuilt them on a gender-neutral basis so that any person of any gender can be victim or perpetrator.
Good. I'm so glad.
Very good.
It's not always in that.
In most cases, it is usually men against women or men against someone of a particular gender. But in so many other cases that get glossed over, it is women hurting men.
They are rare, but
they do happen, and they need to be spoken about. Rape, which we have covered a lot. We are not going to go into distinctive detail with these, and we are not going to mention specific notable crimes because it is not necessary at this point. And it's also, some of these are very fresh, and we do not want to add any more.
Also understand that this can be quite graphic.
So. It can be quite graphic. So please, you can skip over this part if you need to. Rape under the Act, the 2007 Act, is an act of sexual penetration of one person by another without consent, using any body part or object. So it is far wider than the common law definition. So that previously was limited to only a certain penetration between a man and a woman, but it is now fully gender neutral. So a minimum of life imprisonment in aggravated circumstances, for example, gang rape, rape of a child under 16, or a person with a mental disability. That breaks my heart.
Just all breaks my heart. I'm just keep quiet because I've got so many thoughts about the evil pieces of garbage that do this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to keep quiet.
Yeah. And it also includes repeated rape or rape involving grievous bodily harm. Other rapes carry a 10 to 15 to 20 year minimum, and courts may not treat the victim's sexual history or a prior relationship as a reason to go lighter, which is
that's the only part I like about this.
That's the only.
But are you telling me that some instances a person will only get 10 years?
I think so, depending on the severity of it.
I don't care.
That's the thing.
I actually do not care.
You still committed this heinous act
to destroy someone's life and get 10 years minimum.
Exactly. So
that is.
It is difficult. It is very, very difficult. The Act also created the standalone crime of compelled rape, recognizing that a person can be forced to rape someone else. The law treats the one doing the compelling as fully culpable. In that case, there is a safety net for the person who was forced to do this, but also handled with a bit of salt. Is that the word?
Salt.
A grain of salt, because you never know who the people are that are involved. But that also goes to the next topic.
It was actually the case, and those people are both victims. So
that is the thing. So that connects us to compelled rape, which is unlawfully and intentionally compelling a third person without consent to commit an act of sexual penetration with the victim. In other words, forcing one person to rape another. It is treated as seriously as rape itself, with the same potential for life imprisonment, with aggravating circumstances under the minimum sentence regime, which is fantastic. This happens so many times. So it's compelled sexual offences have appeared in the most extreme gang and trafficking prosecutions, where victims are forced to violate one another, which breaks my heart. This was a genuinely new offence in 2007. The old common law had no clean way to prosecute someone who orchestrated a rape without physically committing it themselves.
That's like saying someone that hired someone to kill someone else isn't being held liable. It's literally the same thing. I'm like...
Jess is just holding her head and leaning back just to pull through this. So I'm going to go through this as sensitively but also as quickly as possible. Then we have sexual assault, unlawfully and intentionally sexually violating another person without consent. It is either sexual contact that falls short of penetration, and it replaced the old crime of indecent assault. Why did they have to phrase it like that? Like rape, and it is gender neutral. Threatening someone with sexual violation can also qualify. So no automatic minimum sentence in ordinary cases, leaving the court a wide discretion. Aggravated forms and offences against children attract heavier penalties.
You know, I am glad that sexual assault has been defined as this, because I don't think anyone doesn't know someone who has been sexually assaulted, unfortunately, in South Africa, because it isn't just physically doing something, it's verbally threatening or anything like that. And that happens everywhere. It is disgusting.
I mean, how many of us, like during your university years, you were groped when you went out partying or clubbing with your friends?
Not even that, just being catcalled,
or someone makes an inappropriate comments.
It just makes you feel so.
It makes you feel icky,
and it's just it's so gross.
It's horrible, and I think everyone has gone through it, and that is why we need to push on even harder sentencing if possible.
Yeah, and we actually encourage people to talk up about this, because if someone says something like that, then you can speak up about it. That person can actually be held liable.
And if it is the person that frequently does it, the more people that speak up against that person, the more likely, which is very heartbreaking, but the more likely the correct forces are going to believe your story, which is something horrible to be said. So sexual assault accounts frequently accompany rape charges in South African trials, capturing the full range of a perpetrator's conduct.
So then that hopefully means I get a longer sentence, because it's not just
rape, but
it's also sexual assault. So
exactly. By splitting rape from other sexual violations, the 2007 Act let prosecutors charge precisely what happened rather than forcing everything into one ill-fitting category.
Yeah.
So that means you can carry a heavier sentence and you can be charged for both rather than just being charged for one, and it's not really fitting. So then we have sexual offences.
Plus heavy sentences on these
heavy sentences
of actual
garbage.
Yes.
So sexual offences against children is unfortunately a cluster of offences protecting under 18s, including statutory rape and statutory sexual assault, which is sexual acts with a child, even if the child agreed, sexual grooming, exposing children to pornography, and using children for pornographic purposes. The age of consent is 16 in South Africa, which I think is too low.
I've got a question.
Yes.
If you don't have an answer, cut out.
Sure.
So the age of consent is 16, but if this sexual offences against children protect under 18s, then when is statutory rape? Under 18 or under 16?
So I think it would be under 16.
Okay.
Because a child can give consent, and you are still a child when you are 16.
You really are.
You can give consent when you turn 16.
You have no business giving consent when you're 16.
You have no business giving consent at that young of an age. But unfortunately, you can give consent. But before that, it is still sexual offense against children, and that is protecting under 18s. I think in some cases where the unfortunate victim is incapable of giving consent, according to their caregiver, where there might be a mental disability, or in cases where they themselves cannot speak for themselves because of a mental disability or something in that regard, then their age of consent does not matter. That's the thing. I think that's where you have people actually protecting that person, because I
think if someone under the age of 18 also got raped, it would still fall under it would fall under against children, but it wouldn't be statutory rape, if that makes sense.
I think so. I think you're right there. The sentencing is severe. Many of these offences,
the most severe,
fall under
the most diabolical thing. I can't. I'm sorry. This makes me feel so bad.
It makes you angry.
I don't even want to sit here and be here. I just want to leave, because I don't want to hear about this, because I know how horrific it is, and these people deserve the worst things. I can't even say it on here because
no, they do.
No.
Yes, so luckily the sentencing is severe, and many of these offences fall under the minimum sentence regime, and the rape of a child under 16 carries life imprisonment.
Good.
Convicted offenders,
castration.
Like we said. So convicted offenders are also placed on the National Register for Sex Offenders, which is not public, is it?
I don't think so.
It should be made public. If it is not,
Google.
We're going to Google it, everyone. We are making dumb jokes because of this. But while she is Googling it, let me tell you an interesting fact. I'm sorry. We need to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to fall to pieces. The law builds a narrow close-in age allowance so that consensual teenage relationships between peers are not automatically criminalized. A fixed introduced after the Constitutional Court flagged the original wording.
Sorry, not to interrupt you. The National Register of Sex Offenders is not currently open to general public.
That is horrific.
It is. We should all know.
You should be able to know. In the USA, particularly, when someone moves into a new neighborhood and they are a sex offender, they have to legally go door to door and tell their neighbors, I'm a previous sexual offender, which is horrible and it is dehumanizing, but you are a sexual offender. Then it brings us to the last point in this section, incest, which was made very famous by Game of Thrones. But this is the consensual...
Never mind.
Please don't skip me while I'm reading this because I want to get through this. Sorry. Right, so the consensual sexual penetration between people who are too closely related to marry, such as a parent and child, siblings or grandparents and grandchild, where there is no consent and it is prosecuted as rape instead. I am getting goosebumps. I did not want to read that, so let me just get through it. The sentencing is a discretionary sentence. The surrounding circumstances, particularly any element of grooming or a child victim, drive the outcome. It is rarely a standalone headline case, but it surfaces within broader prosecutions of long-term familial sexual abuse. And incest is one of the few sexual offences that hinges on the relationship between the parties rather than the absence of consent. If consent is missing, a far graver crime of rape takes over. And we are done with that. Hello, we are done with that for those who want to come back.
I think that humor is your coping mechanism.
It is. Humor is my coping mechanism, but also self-deprecating humor, which I should stop.
No, you should not do that.
Yeah.
You can't yourself. But I'm glad that's over because...
I'm glad that's over.
That is the worst part. I don't know why, but sexual crimes are so much harder for me to talk about than non-sexual crimes. Like,
they make you feel icky. They make you feel gross. I don't like them. Thankfully, we are through that. And now we are just going to...
Also, we said this was going to be a light episode.
It is not light. It's not light.
And I'm just glad that the case, guys, you're going to... Okay, actually, it's going to be in opposite order for you, but... The case that came out before this is fabulous.
So let's say...
We're just recording it after this one because I wanted to talk first.
Yeah, because
that was going to be a funny case. I'm excited. We can be unhinged with that one.
Yes, so we apologize after that case that you are going to get this horrible one.
I feel like I need a breather.
I feel like I need a breather, but we have to power through this. Right.
Okay, what do we have left?
Right. So I'm just going to briefly mention some things that we all know that we don't really need to go into detail. So crimes against property, including theft, robbery. I mean, we've all been a statistic of that, unfortunately.
My family's been robbed.
My family's also been robbed, unfortunately, twice by probably the same syndicate. I'm not going to go into detail because that is a very sore subject. And housebreaking with intent to commit a crime.
That too.
That. Stock theft. That is specifically for people on farms. And
that's such a terrible thing to do. You know how expensive farm and
livestock is ridiculously expensive.
So expensive. Don't steal people's animals, bro.
Please don't.
That's rude.
They make a living off of it, or it gives them an income. Please just don't do that.
Yeah, just don't steal. If it's not yours, don't steal it. That's rude by your own.
We're speaking to the wrong demographic. I think our people are kind people.
I think so too, but just say that to people who are unkind.
Yeah, tell that to others. Then we get arson, which,
I would actually like to cover a case about arson. Arson fascinates me in the sense that I'm like, why arson?
Arson is, I feel like it's one of those cases that's like, you need to be a little crazy in the head.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also one of my favorite memes. Sorry to bring that up again. And I'm sorry, I'm going off topic. But is a possum, the case of it, and it looks like it's screaming. And it's like, arson? ? You mean crime brulee? And that one is just one of the funniest things to me. I'm sorry, I had to do that.
Arson is starting a fire, right?
Yes, unlawfully and intentionally setting fire to immovable property, right?
And you know what is very interesting to me is when people who know what they're doing go to the place that's been arsonified, and then they're like, we can see that this is arson and not a mistake because we can track back to where the fire started and we can see that accelerant was used and everything. That is very interesting.
The people doing that for, like, I want to say insurance purposes sometimes.
Yeah,
or also just solving a crime.
Cases.
They're like, oh, an accelerant was used. This thing caught on fire, or this thing was damaged. So
I'm like, how can you tell? It is
so interesting. It is so interesting. So those people are magicians.
Yes.
Then we also get malicious damage to property, which is unlawfully and intentionally damaging property belonging.
Damage to property.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to go through this as quickly as possible because I want to get this over. Malicious damage to property. There we go. Anyway, then we have commercial crimes, which is fraud. That is unlawfully and intentionally making a misrepresentation, a lie that causes actual prejudice or is potentially prejudicial to another person. forgery, and uttering. I did not know uttering was a crime. So that is 2 linked crimes. Forgery is making a false document intending to be acted on as genuine, and uttering is then passing off that forged document as authentic.
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that forgery was just like both
The
of
whole
those
thing.
things. But uttering, so forgery is if you
Making the document.
sign someone else's signature
Yeah.
and keeping it, giving it to someone else is uttering.
Giving it to someone else is uttering. So corruption, which we are all too familiar with.
Yes, corruption in South Africa.
Yes, so it is governed by the Prevention and Combating of Corruption
not.
Activities Act.
It's really not.
Number 12 of 2004.
But it's not that.
Also called PRECA, which it doesn't roll off the tongue. Corruption is broadly giving or accepting any gratification to influence someone to act improperly in the exercise of their duties. It covers both the public and private sectors.
Does it cover people bribing cops?
Yes, of course it does. It's corruption. It is
just a cover-up government.
It is corruption, yes. It is not pointed out because a lot of people are involved and they don't want to be pointed out, but it is still corruption. Money laundering. So money laundering is dealing with the proceeds of a crime in a way that conceals or disguises their unlawful origin, turning dirty money into apparently clean assets. So a very interesting thing is a game that I like to play. I haven't played it in a while, but it's called Schedule 1, where you are basically a drug dealer. I know how this sounds. It is fun, believe me. It's a multiplayer game. We should play it sometime. But you are a drug dealer, you make the drugs, and you sell the drugs. And then at some point, you're only allowed to take that much cash that you get and put it into the ATM because otherwise it is suspicious. So then the first thing you literally buy is a laundromat. And then you put all of your money into that. So it filters through the laundromat.
Or
so
if you're in Breaking Bad, you buy a car washing pit.
There you go.
Breaking Bad is one of my favorite series.
I have not seen Breaking Bad.
It is the most brilliant series. It's one of those ones you wish you could forget and watch again because of how good it is.
That's why I want to watch it when I'm in the right state of mind.
It is
fabulous. But anyways, so money laundering is literally taking dirty money, putting it through a legitimate business to make it seem like clean assets.
Yeah, so that SARS isn't like, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Racketeering. So racketeering targets patterns of organized criminal activity, the running, managing, or profiting from an enterprise. Quote unquote, thank you, through a pattern of racketeering activity. It is such a weird word. It doesn't sound... So it is the tool used to dismantle syndicates rather than prosecute single acts. But it sounds like it shouldn't be included in crime. If someone says racketeering, I imagine them taking like a racket, either a tennis racket, badminton racket, softball racket, any kind of racket, and smashing it. I don't know why. That's what I imagine.
It just sounds like another term for playing tennis, honestly.
Wimbledon. New Wimbledon Stadium. We're racketeering. Then we have extortion, which is the unlawfully and intentionally obtaining some advantage, usually money, from another person by subjecting them to pressure, such as threats.
So that would just be blackmail.
Yes, cool. Exactly. Then we have crimes against the state. Treason, unlawfully engaging in conduct with hostile intent, aimed at overthrowing the state, coercing the government by violence, or violating its territory or independence. And public violence, which is the unlawful and intentional commission by a number of people acting together of acts of sufficiently serious violence or threat that disturb the public peace. Then we have sedition and incitement.
No idea.
Sedition involves unlawfully gathering to defy or subvert the authority of the state. No, that is a coup d'etat. Short of full treason. Incitement is encouraging or persuading another person to commit a crime. So that is when people like to revolt against the government.
So why is that illegal though? Because sometimes government is full of itself and you need to revolt against it and get another president.
That's why it's illegal, because they don't want that to happen.
No, but
because
we have
the
a
people are
power, so we're allowed to say we don't want you as a president anymore. That happened with Jacob Zuma.
I cannot answer that question. As much as I would like to answer that question. Then we have defeating or obstructing the ends of justice. You often hear that. Ma'am, I'm going to arrest you on obstruction of justice. So,
nice voice.
Thank you. It is the unlawfully and intentionally engaging in conduct that defeats or obstructs the proper administration of justice. So that is if someone wants to do an investigation, you can't come into my house, or you can't come into my house. And
you're allowed to say no, first of all.
You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to know your rights.
You know what would be, though, if you know something about a crime and you say you don't?
Then you are kind of hindering the process, making it take longer. Then we have perjury, which you spoke about last week. Unlawfully or intentionally making a false statement under oath. Simple as that. So you're lying.
Don't lie, people.
Lying in a sworn affidavit can amount to perjury too.
So just tell the truth. Just
tell the truth. Then you have contempt of court. Unlawfully and intentionally violating the dignity, repute, or authority of the court by disobeying a court order or behaving improperly in or towards the court.
I will hold you in contempt of court.
There we go. That's something we also hear a lot. Then we have crimen injuria. Yes. A distinctively South African common law crime.
Why is it something Latin if it's distinctively South African?
Makes it sound fancy. So unlawfully and intentionally and seriously impairing the dignity or privacy of another person.
That's a serious crime.
It is, because it can be racist or grossly degrading verbal abuse. That is what it is. Yes.
Don't like that. How hard is it to be a nice person? Not very hard.
It's not very hard. People just be a nice person.
Yeah.
Then we have some things like drug offenses, firearm offenses, like, being in the possession of one where you cannot be.
Firearm.
There we go. Human trafficking, which we have spoken not about. It is the recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring, or receipt of a person by improper means for the purpose of exploitation.
What's the proper means?
I would say, like, you adopt a child.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's what I say.
You had me going there for a second. I had to really think, but I think, let's say you adopt a child.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that can include sexual exploitation, forced labor, servitude, or the removal of body parts.
The removal of body parts counts as human trafficking?
Yeah, so like
that's
part farming.
That's disgusting.
That is messed up.
You can get up to 100 million rand fine?
Yes. So
trafficking?
Among the heaviest in South African law, trafficking can carry a life imprisonment or, so it depends, a fine of up to 100 million rand. Trafficking for sexual purposes also sits within the minimum sentence regime. Here they say, in a landmark matter, a timber businessman was handed multiple life terms after being convicted of trafficking, rape, and sexual slavery of young victims, demonstrating how seriously the courts treat the crime. It is very, very serious. And then we get to cybercrime, which is fairly recent because it hasn't been a thing up until, I would say,
6 years ago. Apparently, according to this act. Was it crazy?
Cybercrimes Act
been happening a lot before 2020.
Yes, the Cybercrimes Act 19 of 2020, in force since December 2021, was the first South African statute to define cyber offences. It criminalizes unlawful access, in example, hacking, interception of data, interference with data or systems, cyber fraud, cyber forgery, and uttering, and cyber extortion, and the distribution of certain harmful data messages. So this is very broad, but it also can include the distribution or the creation of child pornography or other harmful images through the use of AI. But that is going to get its own act because it is so much more prominent right now. So it is going to have its own act in
That's disgusting.
in the future.
Have you heard of that fabulous case in Ekurhuleni where these people, I think they erased people's debt from the municipality?
That is brilliant.
And I'm like, I know I should be mad because they're hackers and they like hack the systems and stuff, but I'm like, do they really need more money though? I can guarantee you those people needed more money than the municipality did. Like, good for you.
We are going to keep our personal opinions to ourselves, but you know what? That's kind of cool. I'm just going to say that.
But then there's a terrible case where someone stole all the government people's pensions, which is disgusting. Why see?
Okay, that is disgusting.
And why seeing people's pensions?
It's a pension fund.
They need that money.
How dare you? But there are so many other crimes here, some including terrorism and also...
I'm so glad we don't really experience much terrorism, and I know we experience xenophobia and stuff in South Africa.
Yes, but not really foreign terrorism attacks as much as other countries.
For that.
I think that is enough
to make you terrified of living in this country.
No. Knowledge. Let's not be Lewis case horror.
Knowledge is fear.
Oh my god.
Now you know what not to do.
Now you know what things mean.
But I'm sure you guys...
You are leading our listeners down the wrong path.
No, I said now you know what not to do.
Well, yes, of course. But they already knew what not to do. But now...
Okay, but to be fair, I didn't know what uttering was.
Same. I just thought it was pure forgery.
Yes.
But now our listeners know how to better protect themselves. And if someone actually does something to them and it is constituted as a crime, go and report that.
Exactly.
Be safe.
Especially sexual assault, because it can be minor, but if that person does it over and over again, there's a good chance that they could escalate. Just report things. Make people aware. You know?
Make them aware. And it doesn't mean they will necessarily escalate with you.
Or it just maybe they won't. Maybe they're just a terrible person. But
yeah, gosh, I think because this is a long one. We do apologize. But also we don't, because we want to inform you and give you the power of the law
and knowledge.
And knowledge.
You just need a good cop.
Good luck of finding those. If you are a very good policeman and an outstanding citizen of the law, please contact us.
I feel like cops and policemen and firefighters and nurses should all be paid so much more.
They should. Teachers as well.
You know, as much as it sucks that there's corruption in our police force, those people get paid almost nothing.
Maybe that is why there's corruption.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if they got paid more, if they got taken better care of, then it would be better.
If they had better benefits. So I think
they deserve more. You guys deserve more. Yes. To the good ones who actually joined it to make a difference and to do the thing.
First of all, thank you for what you are doing. And secondly, you deserve so much more for what you're doing. Like I said, especially teachers, you're shaping the mind.
Teachers, yes. Teachers
of the future.
I think teachers should be making like
doctors' amounts of money.
Yes, I think so.
Yes. I think anyone
that is a teacher, I'll go crazy. So I have amazing respect.
I've tried that and it takes patience. And
I tried it for like 3 months and then I was like, no.
You know what? You tried.
I did. Because my mom's a teacher. So she's like, hey, do I need to teach something for a little bit just to make some extra money, like a little part-time teacher for certain things? And I was like, sure, I'll try, because I was in uni. And then I was like, no.
No,
not for me, but thank you. Anyway,
so, thank you to any public official that is upstanding, and thank you to our police officers that are upstanding, our teachers, our nurses.
Yes. And to private security people.
Thank you to all.
And if you have
citizens,
any questions, if you have any stories, if you have any tales,
if you have any complaints.
No, don't say complaints.
Hey, we need constructive criticism. We will cry, but we will take it to heart. We'll cry, but we'll take it to heart. That's the whole point of constructive criticism.
But genuinely, if you have anything you want to share with us, as we said, we want to make this in a tales at some point. Share things, tell us things.
Please do.
Give us recommendations. You can send those to eishthatsdark@gmail.com. You can also follow us at eishthatsdark on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. On TikTok and Instagram, we post pictures and stuff more about the cases. We share any interesting news we might have. So go ahead and follow us there.
Yes.
But thank you for all your support. And we love you.
We love you. And you know what? Stay safe and stay skeptical.
Stay safe.
This was a long one, Jess.
Stay safe.
There we go. Stay safe and stay skeptical. And always know your rights.
Yes.
Let's
see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.